Welcome to Okaloosa Eye on Crime. In this edition, we're going to show you how a school resource officer went all out to help raise money for kids with cancer.
And we'll also profile an unsolved armed robbery in Destin and show you a composite photo of a suspect in an attack on a woman in Crestview. But let's start today with the mysterious death of a well-respected Niceville man. The Niceville Police Department is actually asking for anyone with information to come forward in the death of 35-year-old Azel Hardy. Niceville police actually responded to a 911 call that reported a disturbance on Nathy Street in Niceville about 10:30 p.m. on Saturday, August 29th. And when police arrived, they found Hardy not breathing. He was later pronounced dead at Twin Cities Hospital. But they don't have a whole lot to go on in this case. So anybody with information about that death, please give the Niceville Police Department a call, or of course you can always call anonymously Emerald Coast Crimestoppers 863-TIPS.
All right, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is investigating an armed robbery that took place in Destin October 15th at a store called Plato's Closet. It's on Emerald Coast Parkway. Employees say a white man wearing what looked like golf attire, essentially, came in around 10:10 a.m. with a handgun, and he demanded money. He did take some cash. He fled westbound on foot. The store is located at 34904 Emerald Coast Parkway. The robber is described as a white male between 40 and 50 years old, about 5'7" and 150 pounds with a scruffy beard. He was wearing a tan windbreaker and tan shorts. So call Emerald Coast Crimestoppers 863-TIPS, or of course you can call the Sheriff's Office at 651-7400 if you have information that may indicate who this robber is.
Yeah, and some pretty good video there of the whole robbery. Now, next up, the Sheriff's Office is searching for a motorcycle stolen from a Fort Walton Beach parking car lot. An employee at Auto Sales Online located at 801 North Eglin Parkway says a 2008 silver Harley-Davidson motorcycle was at the business when he left on October 15th about 6:15, but it was gone when he arrived back again around 9 a.m. the next morning. Now, two blinkers and a relay box were found on the ground outside the business, and scrapes along the concrete show where someone had dragged the bike from the parking area onto Eglin Parkway. Now, anybody with information about the theft of that motorcycle, give us a call, 863-TIPS, or EmeraldCoastCrimestoppers.com. We have anonymous web tips.
And moving now to an armed robbery, but not your typical armed robbery where you usually think about a gun. The Sheriff's Office wants information about the robbery of a Fort Walton Beach convenience store back on September 18th that involved a man entering the Thumbs Up service station at 168 Eglin Parkway carrying a machete. He demanded money from the clerk, and he took off running southbound. He's described as a black male, about 5'7" to 5'9", and about 150 pounds. The suspect had a black silk or some sort of soft material style bandana with light print covering his face during the crime. He was wearing black pants and a red zip-up lightweight hoodie jacket.
And next up, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is investigating the theft of approximately $135,000 worth of GPS equipment from two construction sites on State Road 123. Deputies were called to the road construction area on State Road 123 back on October 1st after workers discovered that a total of 4 GPS receiver antennas and 2 GPS receiver display consoles were stolen from 2 of the bulldozers that were there on the work site. Now, a short time later, they were called to another construction location about 2 miles away where a satellite GPS receiver antenna and base unit equipment was also removed from a pole at that construction site. So both thefts occurred, they think, sometime between 4:30 p.m. on September 30th and 6:30 a.m. on October 1st. So anybody with information, give us a call and some photographs of the stolen GPS equipment there.
And that's an interesting crime because your average person is not going to have any clue that that type of equipment's
Right.
on that type of construction equipment. So
Yeah,
that's
and not to mention not only the theft of the equipment, but I know it actually stalled work for a while, and then they had to come in and install some other security measures. So it actually set into motion several more thousands of dollars worth of work.
Yeah, and the delays to the public, I guess, with the roads and things. Anyway, the next case is a really terrifying incident that took place up in the Crestview area, and investigators are still looking for a man, and we have a composite sketch now that shows what he may look like. He attacked a woman and tried to shove her in the trunk of her car while she was unloading groceries. That was at her home back on July 26th, and the 32-year-old victim suffered cuts and abrasions. This took place July 26th on Brown Place near Crestview. She told deputies the suspect first was standing at the end of her driveway and asked if she needed help with her groceries, and she told him no, but he charged her and tried to push her into the trunk. She was able to force her way out as he punched her repeatedly in the back of the head and pulled her hair. She was able to get free and run to a neighbor's house. We do have some witnesses that were in the area that had seen a young black male, about 25 to 35, wearing a gray t-shirt and black Nike shorts, running west from that home around the time of the 5:30 p.m. attack. One man described the person running away as over 6 feet tall and weighing about 250 pounds with a heavy build, which is a bit redundant because that's obviously a big individual. The woman was injured, but she was treated on scene by EMS initially, but then went on to North Okaloosa Medical Center for evaluation. So this is obviously one of those scary incidents that this person's still out there. Here's a composite photo. Please take a look at that. If you have any idea who you think this might be, or it looks like somebody you know, just call Crimestoppers 850-863-TIPS or contact the Sheriff's Office at 651-7400.
And of course, these and other unsolved cases are also available on our website at emeraldcoastcrimestoppers.com. If you didn't get a good look at all the videos and photos here, they're all there on the website. Now, as most of you probably already know, Okaloosa County's School Resource Officer Program was named a model program for the nation this year.
And we've got an example of one of the ways that deputies at these schools go above and beyond in protecting and serving the students and the teachers and folks at the school. This one's going to showcase Elliott Point Elementary SRO, Deputy Jason Foley.
Foley, 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 Foley,
Are you ready? Coming right behind you.
I'll tell you what. I brought some money so that I didn't have to do it. Is this enough?
No!
Wait. How about this much money?
No!
There is only 4% of the government's money spent on childhood cancer research. The rest goes to adults. I don't have the facts memorized, but not many new medications have been brought through the pipeline for kids in the last 50 years. So the medications that my son received were for adults. My son was diagnosed when he was 9, almost 10, with adult leukemia, and he's been in remission 3 years. I'm sorry. He fought really hard, and it was a tough battle, but he came out on top, and a lot of kids don't. So we do as much as we can to raise awareness that kids get cancer too, and they need the funding as much as adults do. He's in 8th grade at Meg's. He's all A's and B's. He's playing golf. He's loving life. He lives it to the fullest. Amazing. He's always willing to step up. The last month we collected money for St. Baldrick's, which is a research-based childhood cancer organization, and the kids brought in money to sock it to cancer. There was a tube sock in their classrooms. They brought in as much as they wanted, pennies, coins, anything, and they have raised over $700 in the month of September.
You know what? If you're looking for somebody to hopefully motivate the kids to bring their change in for their Sock It to Cancer campaign, I would do that and be more than willing to let them shave my head and do whatever you wanted to do. And so it went from a few laughs at first to now everybody's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get his head shaved. And then the kids were kind of like, well, your hair's not too long. So I said, well, we can shave a mohawk in it, and I think that will give the kids a little more motivation, and it'll be a lot more fun, and they'll, rather than just seeing somebody get their head shaved, they get to participate in the fun. And then of course the gold coloring for childhood cancer awareness, tying it all in to help educate the kids and also raise the money. So plus the kids did great, over $700 of change that they brought in, and $78 I think was one class raised, and that was the class that was out here.
And one of the greatest rewards of being a school resource officer in Okaloosa County is the magnitude of the support you get from the school administrators, the students, and the teachers and the parents.
That's no doubt about it. Blue Water Bays Elementary School SRO found that out in a big way when he arrived to learn that it was Deputy Charles Self Day at his school.
I did throw some Saints colors in here with this.
It's about time.
Thank you all.
And we're moving now to our first list of wanted individuals, wanted as of today's taping date, which is October 23rd, 2015. Now keep in mind, you can earn a cash reward if you provide information that leads to the arrest of any of these wanted fugitives.
That's right, and you never have to give your name. You have 3 options for calling in the information in. You can call 863-TIPS, as we tell you. You can go to emeraldcoastcrimestoppers.com and do a web tip, or you can text TIP 214 plus your message to crimes 274637, and that seems to be one of the more popular ways
Yes.
that people now are sending in their tips. First up, we've got Jordan Christopher Reeves. Now, this is a big one. The 23-year-old black male wanted by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for the murder of Timothy Stalker Jr. This took place in the parking lot of a nightclub on Okaloosa Island on August 9th. Reeves is a dangerous individual, also wanted by the Orange County Sheriff's Office for attempted murder. He was last known to live in Crestview. They don't believe he's still in the area, but he does have connections to the area, so someone may have some clues on his whereabouts.
And I think if you look at his picture there, I think they also said his hair had grown out quite a bit since that photo was taken. I think it's a rather old photo, but that was all they had. So keep an eye out for him. Next up is Jason Donald Baxter, who is wanted by both the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office and Walton County Sheriff's Office. This guy has multiple warrants for fraud charges, and he was last known to live in Miramar Beach.
And we've got another violent individual on the run, George Emmerich II, wanted by the Sheriff's Office for violating probation on charges of domestic violence, strangulation, and aggravated battery.
And Walton County is also searching for Robert Lee Thompson, and he's wanted for burglary. Now they're saying he may possibly be staying in the Panama City Beach area.
Ivan Baramov was last known to live on Plew Avenue in Shalimar, and he's wanted by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for violating probation on a charge of grand theft. He's 24-year-old white male.
Alexis Wilmer Mondragon, we'll hope I pronounced that correctly, wanted by the Sheriff's Office for sexual battery, sex offense against a child, and lewd and lascivious molestation, last known to live over on Spencer Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
Wow, and that's another one that you really would like to see get off the streets. Justin Ryan Tinkersley, 29-year-old, wanted by Walton County Sheriff's Office for burglary. He was last known to live over on Blue Pond Circle in Ponce de Leon.
And also wanted for burglary out of Walton County is Beverly Jean McFadden, who was last known to live on 4 Mile Road in Freeport.
Next up is a drug case. Amanda Stone Collins is 43 years old. She's wanted in Walton County for drug production, trafficking in methamphetamine, possession of marijuana, and possession of narcotics equipment. Last known address, again, Ponce de Leon.
Next up is Dakota Sean Collins, who's wanted for violation of probation for fraud, burglary, and grand theft, last known to live on Yacht Club Drive over in Fort Walton Beach.
Oh, and here we've got one located since last show. These are the ones we like to see.
we always like
this is Arzelia Tisheen McLaughlin.
But we're still looking for Brittany Linnell Sanders, who's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for violation of probation for create, use, or possess counterfeit credit cards with intent to use counterfeit information.
Samuel Thomas Lyons was last known to live in Crestview. He's 26 years old, and he's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for uttering a forged instrument ×5, which means 5 counts. Also, additional charges include theft and violating probation on obtaining drugs by fraud.
And 36-year-old Justin Thomas Parks is wanted out of Walton County for burglary, criminal mischief, and misdemeanor violation of probation for driving with a suspended license, last known to live in Freeport.
And we have an individual who is wanted for failure to register as a sexual offender, 45-year-old Troy Clayton Gavin.
And a new face to the show is Joseph William Cottrell, who's wanted for violation of probation for battery, failure to appear for no valid driver's license, and violation of probation for domestic violence battery, last known to live on Tanager Road in Fort Walton Beach.
And this one involves battery as well. It's a violation of probation on a charge of battery on a law enforcement officer, a firefighter, or EMS, a first responder in essence. It's 28-year-old Austin William Allen, last known to live in Destin.
40-year-old Jeremy Scott Francis, who is wanted for violation of probation for grand theft and possession of a controlled substance, last known to live on Pine Street up in Niceville.
Also looking for Donnie Sean Clemens II. He's wanted for violating probation on a charge of battery. His last known address was Tonus Way in Fort Walton Beach.
And deputies are still looking for Crystal Lynn Marie Corkins, who's wanted for violation of probation for providing false information to a pawnbroker, burglary, fraud, grand theft, and dealing in stolen property. Pretty long list there.
Okay, now we've got William James Barcheski, however you want to say it. He's 30 years old, wanted for resisting arrest with violence and trespassing. His last known address, Rainbow Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
And the last one on our first list is Robert Lee Hutton, who is wanted for violation of probation for battery on a law enforcement officer, last known to live over in Freeport.
And now we want to talk about a problem that's in Okaloosa County, but not just in Okaloosa County. This is a problem across Florida, probably around a lot of places in the country. And it's one that law enforcement agencies have been talking about, but it just does not seem to be going away. And the issue here is the number of guns that are being stolen, but not just stolen from out of homes. These are guns being stolen. A lot of times these are loaded guns being stolen from unlocked cars. People just open the door, reach in, take the gun, and all of a sudden you've got stolen guns on the street.
That's right, and the Sheriff's Office has actually had an ongoing campaign called Lock, Take, Hide, urging everyone to lock their car, take their keys, and hide their belongings, and yet stolen guns continue to be stolen from unlocked vehicles. These guns often end up in the hands of juveniles, who are often the ones that commit the crime in the first place.
Right, most of the car burglaries are going to be tied to juveniles, so obviously they're the ones ended up with the loaded guns that are then on the street in the hands of young people. So this is an issue that Sheriff Larry Ashley has been trying to work hard to educate the public to help do something about.
The last 10 years we've had nearly 500 firearms stolen. 22% of that 500 were stolen last year in 2014. So, we've had this message, take, lock, hide your things in your car. Don't leave your car unlocked. It seems like people, go to the beach, they can't carry their gun in their swimming trunk, so they leave it in the car. Just lock it. It's those crimes of opportunity, but that's a lot of guns on the street. When you start talking about 500 guns over the last 10 years, it gets to be an issue.
And now, since just July of this year, of 2015, there's been more than 30 weapons taken from unlocked vehicles just in Okaloosa County alone. And the majority of those were actually in the Destin area. So that's a whole lot of weapons out there in the hands of who knows who. So lock your cars, please.
And we've been trying to use social media. We've got our Facebook page at the Sheriff's Office. We have a Twitter account. We've put out news releases, and there's been educational campaigns on this. It's just a matter of, I think people need to pay attention and realize that no matter where you live in the community, this is an issue, whether you're in a gated community or
Right.
whatever the geographic location. This is happening all over Okaloosa County. Destin, a hot spot, it seems. But law enforcement's relying on the public to assist because this crime is preventable. Okay, next up we're going to run down some more of the individuals that are on law enforcement's radar in hopes that you can help catch them. First up on this list, Michael Scotty Laravidi, 33 years old, wanted by the Okaloosa Sheriff's Office for violating probation on possession of a controlled substance charge, possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia. His last known address was on Miracle Strip Parkway in Fort Walton Beach.
And the Walton County Sheriff's Office is still looking for Joshua James Pickard, who is wanted for violation of probation for possession with intent to sell, manufacture, or deliver a controlled substance, possession of marijuana, and possession of paraphernalia, last known to live in Depuniac Springs.
And Lewis Jeff Ingram failed to appear in court on a charge of larceny and theft. His last known address, Navy Street in Fort Walton Beach.
And Larry Neil Brown II is wanted for violation of probation for aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, criminal mischief, and battery, last known to live on Angela Lane in Mary Esther.
Next case is up from the Fort Walton Beach Police Department. They're looking for Juan Ramon Marquez. He's 35 years old, and Marquez is wanted for trafficking in stolen property. Now, they last had him with an address of Jonquil Avenue in Fort Walton.
And 26-year-old Ronald Wesley Lewis is wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for aggravated stalking, last known to live in Pensacola.
Roderick James Rutterson Jr., 34 years old. He's wanted for possession of synthetic narcotics within 1,000 feet of a school. Those are always dangerous. And also failure to appear on a charge of driving with a license that was suspended or revoked. And Rutterson's last place of residence was Mooney Road in Fort Walton Beach.
Mark Robert Fitzgerald, who was last known to live in Santa Rosa Beach, is wanted for grand theft and contracting without a license.
Looking for Edward J. Stanley, 863-TIPS. If you know where you can find him, he's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for failure to appear on multiple counts of uttering a forged instrument as well as grand theft.
And 60-year-old Mark Stephen Hansford is wanted for altering a bank bill or note and theft.
And I think Carlos Arbina Suarez has been on our list for a while. Walton County Sheriff's Office has been looking for him on charges of larceny and burglary.
And call 863-TIPS if you know where Charles Keith Wallace is. He's wanted for possession of a controlled substance without a prescription.
Got another individual out of Walton County, Geronimo Bayon, wanted for failure to appear on a charge of felony DUI and driving with a suspended or revoked license, and that is a Walton County case.
And Everett Hairston also has Walton County warrants for violation of probation on the original charge of grand theft auto.
Emmanuel Uribe Martinez, wanted by Walton County SO for violating probation on charges of resisting an officer with violence and loitering and prowling.
Eric R. Arsenault, who's wanted for violation of probation on the original charge of grand theft auto, and that is also Walton County warrants.
Yeah, we're continuing in Walton County with this next one as well. Jerome Williams, wanted for VOP on charges of grand theft, giving a false name to law enforcement, and theft.
28-year-old Jason Michael Oliver is wanted for violation of probation on the original charges of grand theft and uttering a forged check.
Moving to Fort Walton Beach now, the PD is looking for John Henry Bonner. They want Bonner for grand theft, a violation of Pawnbrokers Act, and non-payment of child support.
And another familiar face to the show, this one's been on here a while too, and that's Daniel Wesley Arthur, who is wanted for felony neglect of an elderly person or disabled adult without causing great bodily harm, possession of controlled substance by misrepresentation, fraud, forgery or deception, and theft. And he was last known to live over in Fort Walton Beach.
And the next individual was last known to live in Shalimar, and it's 27-year-old Samuel Edward Thomas III. He's wanted for violating probation on charges of providing false information to a pawnbroker, false imprisonment, and grand theft.
And last but certainly not least is Lonzel J. Knox, who is 28 years old, and he's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for aggravated battery.
And wrapping things up, we want to talk about a longtime veteran of the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office who had rejoined the agency to serve part-time after retiring, but he was gunned down in Shalimar back on September 22nd. We're talking, of course, about 64-year-old Deputy Bill Myers, who had retired in November 2013 after nearly 25 years with the agency. He was rehired on a part-time basis in January of this year to assist with civil process. Well, he had just finished serving a domestic violence injunction to 33-year-old Joel Dixon Smith of Navarre at the Cotton & Gates law firm on Plew Avenue around 8:20 in the morning on the 22nd. When he was walking outside back to his car, he was shot multiple times in the back, including a gunshot wound to the rear of his head.
The investigators say the suspect in the shooting, 33-year-old Joel Dixon Smith of 9807 Navarre Parkway in Santa Rosa County, then drove to the Comfort Inn and Suites there on John Sims Parkway in Niceville, where he barricaded himself inside one of the rooms. Now, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office Special Response Team responded and evacuated the building, set up a perimeter, and after about an hour and a half of negotiations, the suspect did come out of the room brandishing a firearm. About 11:13 a.m., deputies responded. The suspect was struck and then taken to Fort Walton Beach Medical Center, where he later died. And thankfully, none of the special response team members were injured.
Now, if you knew Bill, you know that he loved his grandkids, he loved his family, and he especially loved Disney World. Sheriff Ashley, in fact, called him a treasured part of this agency's family since 1989. He said that Bill served this community with distinction for decades. He was loved, admired, and respected for his dedication to the law enforcement profession. He loved photography, and those of us who knew him saw he shared a lot of those photographs with us. He had an ability to make those around him smile.
That's right, he did. And the memorial service at Northwest Florida State College Raider Arena was packed with family, co-workers, caring citizens, and law enforcement counterparts from across the country, including some from the New York Police Department.
And of course, one of the most overwhelming aspects was the extraordinary amount of community support that flowed in to offer comfort and solace to both the grieving family and the grieving agency. And we just wanted to say our sincere thanks to you all.